Cool. Cool. All the way to the middle, right here, right here, right here. Open, hang on, hang on. Hang on, hang on, hang on. A little lower. There we go. Cool, right here.
Yes, sir. Starting early.
Right here. Step on the roof, right? Cool. Y'all get up now. And 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to Paths, Season 2. I'm your host, Jael Benjamin, and I am here with actor, director, producer, Jock McKissic. Y'all give a round of applause for that. So here at Paths, we like to jump right in, right?
Let's jump right in.
I hear your path starts in Alabama. Take me through a quick journey of how you got here out in LA.
Whew. Well, I'll give you a brief summary about the Alabama part because that journey is pretty long.
Gotcha.
But I started in Alabama. I was born and raised in Opelika, Alabama. I spent about half of the time in Salem, Alabama, where my grandmother lived, her and my great-grandmother. And they owned a farm. They lived on 300 plus acres of land. Where I'm from, Opelika is a kind of a big town. So, you know, I got half of the city life, half of the country life. So that dealt with me in ways that most children in my hometown didn't experience because I got to experience like what hard work was like as a child. Like I was feeding cows and chickens and pigs, et cetera, at the age of 5 and 6, you know. So it instilled hard work in me when I didn't necessarily know what hard work was. Yeah. So that's where I was born and raised. I knew I wanted to be an actor at the age of 6. I grew up watching a lot of movies, a lot of TV, and I was watching an Oprah Winfrey TV show because Oprah is a god to most black women, especially in the South. Absolutely. So when Oprah's on, you either stay outside or you sit down and watch. So she was interviewing Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was speaking to the kids. He was saying, you know, if there's something you want to do, you know, you have to believe in yourself and do it. And he was talking about, you know, how he was the biggest movie star in the world at the time, and something inside of me, a light bulb just went off. And I looked at my great-grandmother and I said, I'm going to be an actor when I grow up. And she said, well, baby, you from Alabama. Ain't no actors in Alabama. So I told her, well, I'll be the first. So her and my grandmother looked at each other and they were just like, oh, you know, we don't know where this boy come from. But that's where it started. And from that point on, I knew that this dream that I had was something that most people couldn't believe in because they couldn't see it. Yeah. So I just kept it to myself, but I did the work. I started acting in church plays and school plays. My first role was Dr. MLK Jr. in Black History play in school. And I tell this story all the time because it's funny, right? I lied to my mom and told her that I had to learn the whole I have a dream speech. I was only supposed to say like 2 sentences. So on the day of the play, all of the kids went, and it was destiny. My teacher told me to go last. And I'm thankful she did, or I would have ruined the play. So I got up and I did the whole I have a dream speech, and everybody it was a cafeteria, I think we were performing there. Everybody went crazy. Like everybody was in tears, and it was at that moment where it kind of confirmed, like, like this is it.
Yeah, I mean, wow. And it's good that, you know, your family or even you saw those opportunities as moments to hone in on your craft, right? Because a lot of people are like, if I'm not on TV, it doesn't count, right? If I'm not on Disney or wherever, it doesn't count. But those moments really like contributed to your path and were pivotal. Mm-hmm. So I hear, you know, that you went into sports and you were an athlete. How do we go from, you know, church and school plays to transitioning, not transitioning, but just adding to your path?
Adding to, yeah. So,
sports.
I always loved sports.
Okay.
I grew up cheering for Deion Sanders. And, you know, when I was really young, he was with the Falcons. I had his jersey. My favorite athlete, which was kind of my childhood idol, was Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay.
So my first dream prior to even acting, I knew at like 3 or 4 that I wanted to go to the NBA. Okay. So I played basketball. I played football 1 year, like 7, and I played running back, so I hated it. I didn't like running. Scored a lot of touchdowns, but I was tired. So I was like, Coach, I'm done. I'm going back to basketball. So I played basketball only until high school. When I got to high school in the 9th grade, I started playing football as well. And I fell in love with it this time because I could understand it more. And I ended up being better in football than basketball. But there was a hiccup in the road, which now I look at as one of my most pivotal moments in my life. Is my 10th grade year, I ended up breaking my leg in 3 different places, and I was told I would never play sports again. At the age of 15, when everything is just on the rise and I'm getting all these scholarship offers and attention from different colleges, and I had that injury, and it was at that moment where I questioned God for the first time, and kind of found myself, really. And through that year and a half of rehab, it was brutal. You know, just going to the doctor over and over, being told no, I can't play sports. And once I really developed my relationship with God and learned to depend on Him and pray and just believe and just continue with the process, that's when things start to get better on that journey of recovery. So one day I went to the doctor and he finally cleared me. So I came back like the end of my junior year to play football, and I played like 4 games and I had like 13 sacks, which is like crazy. If you watch football, so you know that's good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
I got you.
yeah, so I balled out, and all the colleges came back, and from there, that's when the ball kind of started to roll again with sports. And I graduated. I ended up going to Clemson University in South Carolina. Go Tigers! Things were good. I had a good college career. I started as a freshman All-American. And towards the end of my career, things started to shift, not in my favor on the field. I graduated, and things didn't go as planned with football after college. But yeah, we'll talk about it later, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good that it sounds like you had that experience, even with the injury. So that helped you create, right, like a system of, you know, having a low point or a moment happen that you didn't expect, but you were able to develop those skills to build yourself back up, right?
Absolutely.
Like mentally, physically, emotionally. And I feel like, would you say that's a transferable skill, like being in the acting industry now? Like, does that help you in dealing with, you know, sometimes we win, right? We got the sack and I'm on TV, you know what I'm saying? I made it. But even those moments where, you know, there is no callback, do you notice you still do some of the same things?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
The injury and coming back from that and just rejection week after week from the doctor, that helped. And then just playing football in general once I got to college. Because with football, it's like the game is so intricate, right? So if I make a great play, I got to forget about it.
Yeah.
I have to move on to the next play. Vice versa. If I get killed on this play and I, get driven into the ground, I got to get back up and forget about that.
Yeah.
Or the same thing is going to happen on the next play. So just those 2 things coming together, it really just created the formula for my life, and that's how I treat acting. Just because I didn't get that role, who cares? You know what I'm saying? I actually, once I do an audition, I just throw it away. I don't even think about it anymore.
Okay.
And most of the time, if I do get a call from my reps and they're like, oh yeah, you know that role you auditioned for, they want you. I'm like, what? When did I audition for that? You know what I'm saying? Because I have a short-term memory with it. And what the injury in high school taught me is that you have to have a well-rounded life, right? You can't put everything into this one thing and only that, because when that's going bad, your life is going bad. You can't operate like that. So when acting isn't going my way, I have other things in life that are going very well. My relationships with my family and friends, whether it be business opportunities that I'm involved in, whatever the case may be, I have other things going on where I'm not just down in the dumps because acting isn't going well.
Yeah. And I mean, you even mentioned it a little bit, and I want to dig into it, right? When football wasn't necessarily going your way, right? You spent some time in Miami, and then that brought you to LA. Could you describe to me the moment you knew you needed to move to LA?
Okay, so I stopped in Atlanta first.
Okay, got you.
But I was playing arena football after college. I signed free agent with the Bengals after the draft.
Okay.
They did a physical. I did a full physical, and don't clap yet. I'm gonna tell you why. They did a full physical, and on the X-rays that they did for my leg, they saw the surgery from high school. And with that injury, you typically don't come back to play at the level that I did. So it brought up a red flag. They sent it off to their doctors. They ended up releasing me 24 hours later.
24 hours.
Yeah, so I was with the Bengals for 24 hours. So then the world stopped, right? Because I had this plan, this vision to go to the NFL for 6 years, retire, start a production company, be an actor based off of my NFL career and my name that I built, my name, image, and likeness. That didn't happen. So the world came to crumbling in for me in sports. And I was like, how do I make this dream come true now?
Yeah.
So I took some time off, like 2 or 3 weeks. I ended up getting a call from a couple of arena teams. I had a couple of CFL workouts. And I played arena football for a year. I had like 17 sacks. I ended up getting another workout with the New York Giants.
Okay.
They didn't sign me. And I went to Miami, and I was in Miami training. And at the time, I had just met with a CFL team, Saskatchewan Roughriders, and their coach called and told me that they weren't going to sign me. And at that moment, I had peace. I knew that I've given football everything that I wanted to give it.
Yeah.
And I just knew that it was time for me to move on and pursue acting from the ground up. It was not something that I planned to do, but it was the best thing by far that God made me do.
Absolutely. So what was your time like in Atlanta?
Yeah, Atlanta.
And then that brought you to LA.
Yeah, Atlanta is great. I love Atlanta. So once I made that decision to get into acting, I packed my car and I moved to Atlanta with $500 clothes in the car, right? And I had ventured into acting kind of, sort of a little bit while I was training for the CFL team. I did some extra work on a show called Necessary Roughness. And while on that set, a couple of the actors and the director were saying like, oh, you should take this serious. You know, you're pretty good at it. And to me, at that time, I was like, what do you mean I'm good? I'm just being an extra. You know what I'm saying?
What is an extra?
So it's a background actor that they're hired to like fill in the areas around the actors and, you know, just operate in an authentic space. You know, you have to have extras background actors to make it come to life. So I was doing that, but once I started training and I started studying the craft, I learned that, you know, some of the best acting is done without words. And, you know, they were telling me, like, you're good at this, you should pursue it. But I was like, yeah, when I get done playing football or whatever. So after I decided to go into acting full time, I reached out to that company again, and they were still shooting. And I went back to set and did about 17 episodes of that. But I went with a different mindset this time.
Okay.
I was studying the director, I was studying the grips, I was studying the process of how to make TV. I was studying the actors. I created a relationship with some of the actors, Mekhi Brooks, who was one of the leads at the time, and Greg Allen Williams, who was one of the leads. And they kind of took me under their wings and like mentored me. Yeah. And they would bring me their scripts and like break down, like, this is how you write a script, this is why we're doing this, et cetera. And they referred me to an acting class. I started training. And I started going to a place called Premier Actors Network. And that's where I met a lot of my current peers in the industry. And that was pivotal for me because Dwayne Boyd, who is the instructor there, allowed me to embrace who I was, not only as a person, but an actor. You know, he told me from Jump Street, you're an actor, you're good at this, you just have to be comfortable with who you are. So Atlanta helped me develop a foundation in the industry, and it helped me grow as a person because it was some of the toughest years of my life. You know what I'm saying? Coming off being a collegiate star to now, you know, working 5, 6 odd-end jobs, you know what I'm saying, sleeping on the couch. I slept on one of my friends from Necessary Roughness couch for a year and a half in a studio apartment, you know, but it was the dream, and I knew that there was no giving up. You know, whatever it took to get to LA or to get to the quote unquote end goal that we all speak about, I was willing to do whatever. So
Yeah. And it sounds like those moments really pushed you forward on your path, right? They prepared you for some of the moments that actually happen the more you mature in the industry, right?
yeah, for sure.
So I'm curious, when you arrived in Atlanta, right? $500, car packed.
Yeah.
Was the person you ended up staying with the first person you called?
He was like the 4th or 5th person.
Okay.
So I started making the calls before I got there.
Got you.
I started when I got on the road.
The check-in.
You know, like, yeah, hey, what's up? What y'all doing tonight? Oh yeah, we're at the crib. Pull up. You know.
Got you.
And his call was a little different from everybody. His call, the first thing he said is, "When you moving to the A?" Because I was telling everybody, "Oh, I'm about to come to Atlanta." He's like, "When you moving here?" I was like, I got my clothes and stuff now, man." And he was like, "Well, if you need somewhere to crash, you know, you can come to my crib. It's small, it's a studio apartment, but you get the couch."
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. So I forgot about the first 4 or 5 calls. And I went to his house and we sat down, we had a conversation. He was saying, "I believe in you, bro. Like, whatever you want to do, you got my couch until you make it happen." So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think,
Jason Winston is his name. I always say his name. Yeah.
and I think it's important, right, that we talk about community. Because you said a lot of your peers now and your friends now in the industry you met, like in class, and in those spaces, right? What part does community in your tribe like play in your career now?
A huge part.
Okay.
You know, like some people say, if you look at your 5 closest friends, then you're looking in the mirror. You know, it's kind of who you are, right? So my 5 closest peers are all people that I met in Atlanta, or, you know, when I started on this acting journey. And they're people that are phenomenal to me, people that inspire me. And when things aren't good, going well for me, I can look to them because things are going good for them usually, or one of us at some point, particular time. So community is important. You need that for not only support, but just to lift your spirits, you know?
Yeah.
As an actor or a creative, I'll just say, anybody that's in the creative space and entertainment, not many people outside of it understand it. You know, they'll just look at you like you're crazy if you're doing this because they can't see the end goal. They don't know. They weren't. I always say they weren't on a conference call when God told you, you know, your goals and your passions.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need people who understand, who are going through the same thing, to kind of bounce ideas off of, to vent to motivate, to lift, to pray together, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. And I mean, it had to take a lot of courage to then, you know, develop that community in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then move out to LA.
Yeah.
Like, did the tribe come with you, or you came deep? What was
So I've never been one of those people that look at moves as like a huge thing. Like, oh, I got to make this. Because like I said, I lived all over the place.
Yeah.
And I've been away from home since I was 17. So for me, it's more just like a pit stop. That's how I view things. Like,
Gotcha.
everywhere you go is just a pit stop along the journey. You got to get out the exit. You got to refill. You got to get out the exit. You got to get something to eat.
Yeah.
You know, mama got to stop and use the bathroom every 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So like every stop on your path should be viewed as that. Like, don't put too much power on it, or too much like fear on like making these decisions, because it's all a part of the journey. So I knew that LA would be a part of my story. I just didn't know when. My goal was to start acting in Atlanta, build my resume, get some training, get confident in myself, and then move to LA whenever God said so. And I woke up one morning. It was December of 17, and it was just on my heart. You know, I just heard the Holy Spirit say it's time. You know,
Yeah.
so I went into my little brother, Patrick Walker, who you met last season. I went into his room and I said, hey, it's time to move to LA. And he was like, let's go. And I'm like, I'm flying to LA next week. We're gonna find some places. So I came to LA next week, and we looked at apartments. He came like a couple days later. We found a spot, and we were in LA in February.
And the rest is history from there.
The
You've
rest
been on
is-
television ever since. Y'all give it up. I think on that note, it is time for a pit stop for our audience to ask a question. I think we have one here.
I have a question. What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport? Oh man. So it started off basketball. I used to love basketball the most. And then once I started playing football, it became football just because of the lessons that football teaches you about life. So I think football. What's yours? Basketball? Okay. I should have stuck with basketball.
What's your favorite football team?
Outside of in college, Clemson University, because that's where I played. NFL, I don't have a favorite team because I grew up cheering for players, so I never really fell in love with one team. So now I just cheer for all of my friends who are all over the place. Yeah.
He was like, he don't want them to watch this.
Yeah, I'm just
Be like, you ain't say me, bro.
whoever.
Hi. Listening to your story, you talked about a lot of adversity that you had to overcome, a lot of redirection, thinking you knew and had the plan and then being redirected. Can you talk about what you felt at that time and what you would say to somebody when your life is being redirected so abruptly when you thought you knew your plan?
You can say that one to the camera, too.
Amazing question. I get asked that question a lot, and the thing is, like, we all have plans, and we all have, goals and aspirations. And I always say that it's great to have a map, right? You have a map, you know where you're at, and you know where you're going. But in life, when you're on these paths to these goals and these aspirations, success, it's pre-GPS. Success doesn't have a GPS. You can have a map, but you don't have a GPS. So you can follow the map, but you have no way of knowing where the roadblocks are gonna come, where the detours are gonna come. So you just gotta follow these detours. And it creates a sense of frustration when you're on a journey and all of a sudden you come to a dead end and they're like, hey, you got a detour, you gotta go this way. You feel a sense of frustration, but you never stop driving, right? You keep going. So you have to do the same thing in life. When you have these plans and these aspirations to do these certain things and you run into a hurdle or a road bump or whatever the case may be, you got to keep going. And a lot of times we want to stop and give up, but it's harder for me to turn around and go that way than to go forward. You know what I'm saying? Because the whole time I'm going backwards, I'm remembering that I'm giving up on myself and those who supported me and believed in me. So anytime that you're going through something and there's a pivot or there's a roadblock or a hurdle or adversity, you just have to remind yourself that I know what I asked for. I know the great feat that's gonna be once I achieve it, but I also have to understand that to whom much is given, much is required, right? So if I have this big goal in mind, or this place that I'm going to, I have to experience a lot of things to get to that place. So that when I get to that place, I can endure it, and I can also have an appreciation for what it took to get there. So I'll hold it at a high esteem. So don't be discouraged by the roadblocks. The roadblocks to me mean, oh, I'm going higher. I'm going to the next level. When I experience stuff now, like, yeah, come on. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that it's gonna propel me forward as opposed to the latter, yeah, of course.
All right, I have two. What's the ultimate impact you want your career to have? And then what's your dream role? If you could play anything, what would you want to do?
I like it.
Okay. So the ultimate impact that I want my career to have, my goal is to impact as many people that come from places that I come from. Not necessarily Alabama, but just places where it's hard to see or it's impossible to see somebody who's doing what you want to do, who is what you want to be, walking amongst you, right? So therefore, it's hard to believe what you can't see. You may not have those people pouring into you saying, oh yeah, you can do it. Like my family necessarily didn't do that. I want to pour into those people from small places, from situations that are unfortunate, to just be the example to them like, oh, he did it. I know I can do it. Because, I don't think I'm anything special, but God has shown me that I am. I'm his vessel. And if he says so, it's true. So I want to be that example for those people. And I also want to be remembered as the greatest big and tall actor of all time. A dream role. Whew. I don't think I ever said this out loud. Barry
we
White.
getting a Path exclusive? Come on. Path exclusive?
Yeah, Barry White is my dream role.
What advancement in technology do you see for the future of entertainment?
What advancement do I see for? Man, the future is so bright because when I was growing up, we had 4 channels, right? We had CBS, ABC, NBC, and Fox. And if you didn't see it on those 4 channels, it didn't exist for entertainment. Now you can pull up your phone and look on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and see all of these people that are entertaining and bringing things to life. So with the advancement of technology, with the advancement of like access to all these different media platforms, the future is so bright for young people. And I think, we just gotta, as parents, I always speak to the parents, we have to pour into the young people to help them understand that there's a good and bad to everything. Like you can talk about the bad of all of these platforms and all these ideas, but there's also good. Like the most successful person on YouTube last year is 9 years old. She made like $14 million or something. When I was growing up, my mama would have told me that's not a job. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh yeah, mom, she made 14 million, that's a job. So as parents, we have to just mentor them. If we don't have the knowledge, find somebody who does, to just get them on the right path when we're using these platforms. But the future is bright because of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Hello, Jock. How are you? Sorry. How's it going?
Good.
So I have a question for you. How important is it to pick an acting job? Like if how important is it to not just take any acting job just because you want to be an actor? Or do you say, work the job, get your foot in the door? What is your take on that?
So my take on that is we all have this little voice inside of us, right? Some people call it my first mind. I should have listened to my first mind. Some people say the Holy Spirit. Some people say, oh, God told me. Whatever that little voice inside of you, when you're presented with an opportunity, you have to listen to that little voice. You got to check in with that little voice. I make no decisions before I listen to that, right? So when you listen to that voice, if it's telling you no, or you're feeling eerie about a certain thing, it could be anything. It could be one line on a school project. It could be the biggest thing in your life. But if that voice inside of you is telling you don't do it, you have to listen to it. For me personally, I think a lot of times nowadays because people are looking and they can seek success on their phones. Everybody around them is working, whatever the case may be. We try to skip a lot of steps now, a lot of people who are starting out in the industry. And they always say, oh, I don't work for free, or whatever the case may be. And you miss out on some of the biggest blessings that you could possibly have with that attitude. I work for free right now, and I'm a working actor. I've been able to support myself the past 3 years from acting, but I'll do a free project today if I believe in it.
See, and y'all just got free game on your path. So y'all give it a round of applause for Jock McKissic. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
We will see y'all next time here on Paths. Stay tuned.
Aphrodite, then discuss, her rapper messy colors. Na 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 na. Never become Christmas. I love Aphrodite, then discuss, her rapper messy colors. Na 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 na. Never become Christmas. I love it when you couscous. Love it when you couscous. Love it when you couscous. Couscous. Couscous.